Hi folks, this is all the fruit, and the candlenut, or Aleurites moluccana, is a truly amazing plant. I've actually only seen the nuts in this dry state. I'm collecting them from time to time in parks and gardens of the Canary Islands. But the plant did not originate from here. It originated from the islands of Southeast Asia, but now it has spread throughout the tropics of the Old and New World, and even into some subtropical areas like the Canary Islands. An incredibly useful plant, that's why it's cultivated everywhere. It's quite important in some cultures, like being used for lace in the Hawaiian Islands, being used for funerary rituals in some places, being used as a boundary for property lines in some areas. But, of course, the important part is the fruit or the nut. And the name Candlenut is quite intriguing. What does a small half-rotten nut have to do with a candle? Well, let's see first what else it was used for. Well, you can also use the bark of the tree for ropes and nets. You can use the wood, it's of quite good quality. But the important part is, the nut. This is the fruit, which is dried up. Here we have a double fruit, they are quite common. And this is the nut extracted from one of those fruits. Even when the fruit is dry and rotten and has been lying on the ground for many months, the nut will usually still be intact due to the really hard and tough shell. Once you break the nut, well, the problem is that the flesh sticks to the shell, so it's a little bit hard to extract. But once you extract the flesh, you have a lot of options. You can eat it raw. It's supposed to be mildly toxic when raw. It's in the spurge family after all. Spurges are considered as being quite toxic. But, it is being eaten raw, and I've eaten it basically always raw. Or you can roast the nut, bake the nut, heat it in different ways, and then use it for a lot of dishes. It's used a lot in curries, sauces, pastes, whatever. The third option is you extract the oil and you use it. Well, you can make a varnish out of it. You can use the oil for cooking oil. You can use the oil as lamp oil. Well, I collected those nuts in Maspalomas in Gran Canaria. Here on the Canary Islands, I've only found the non-bitter variety. The original nut is quite bitter, which is not a bad thing for the people of Southeast Asia and Oceania. They actually like bitter food. But at some time in Costa Rica, a non-bitter variety was bred, and this is basically the only variety available on the Canary Islands. I don't object. I think I've tried the bitter one in Southeast Asia. It was okay, but it was bitter. Well, what does the nut taste like? Somebody said exactly like walnut. And yeah, it reminds me of walnut, but the walnutty taste is not so strong. Yeah, it's more like walnut than like almond or hazelnut or chestnut or coconut. It's very similar to macadamia, and actually macadamias have been used as a substitute for this nut. Yeah, it's so cherished by the cultures of Southeast Asia that they would use macadamia nut, the queen of nuts, the most expensive and tastiest nut, as a substitute for it. And they will complain all the time because it's not a proper substitute. Macadamia is not bitter enough. Well, taste-wise, I think I prefer macadamia, but this nut is also very tasty. But why is it called candlenut? Well, nuts usually contain a lot of fats. And those nuts here, after a couple years of drought, they are quite dry. So, basically, like some other nuts, the candlenut can actually be used as a candle. As I said, you can use the oil for lamps, but you can also use the candles. In Hawaii, they seem to tie a nut tie a row of nuts on palm leaves and light one nut every 15 minutes. The nut seems to burn about 15 minutes, so that they basically have a sort of primitive clock. When the nut burns, it's a quarter hour, 4 nuts, 1 hour, and so on. Well, I don't know exactly how they bound it to the palm leaves, so I just made a pile here. This is not gonna work as well as tying it to a palm leaf because there is less air reaching the nuts, but I'm pretty sure it's still gonna work. So let's try this now. Okay, fire went out. Flame is quite weak. Come on. Okay, can I borrow your lighter for a moment? Oh, this guy's doing his own experiment. Thank you. So now, with a little help from my friends, the candle nut is on fire. So this is a pile of little nut pieces I made here, but let's see what happens if I try to light a piece of nut. Ow, still in the shell. Well, it happens that I burn my fingers. Let's try the other hand. No, doesn't work so well. Well, but this pile is burning nicely. Not too bright probably, but burning. So I did not treat those nuts with anything. I just cracked them and light them on fire. By the way, we did the same thing yesterday. First we managed to extract the whole seed and lit it on fire. Then we lit a pile of pieces on fire. Both worked quite well. It didn't burn for 50 minutes to be honest, but it burned for a couple of minutes and the flame was bright enough when we turned off all the lights to provide us with some light. I don't know if you can see it, there is quite a lot of black smoke for such a small flame. So not the cleanest fire, but okay, it's fat burning and probably not burning very well. So maybe you shouldn't burn huge amounts of it, but it would be a waste of good nuts to burn huge amounts. Well, flame is getting even stronger. I think you can imagine at night this can provide quite a nice source of light. So folks, this was burning some candle nuts. Stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos from the beautiful and fruit and nut rich island of Gran Canaria. And don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.